I used to hate meditating. It took me a while to just find the right approach, what works for me and what doesn't. I don't like the guided meditations just because it I don't know, it fucks with my head a little bit. Like I don't want to be told what to do. So I rather just kind of know what needs to be done and then I'll do it at my own pace.
Right.
It's normal for like the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, sometimes even longer, for just like your thoughts to run wild and to process all of the shit they need to process. And that's kind of why they say yoga is sort of the warm up to a meditation. I used to fight it and be like, oh, stop thinking, stop thinking, stop thinking. But now I think that if my mind needs to process stuff, then just go for it. Do it. Do what you need to do. Get it out of the way. And then come back to like a place of calm and peace. And it generally works most of the time. So I'll do yoga and the first half is my mind is running all over the place and then it calms down and then I'm able to meditate and be a lot more present.
When I first started my wedding photography business back in 2011, I made just $5,000 in my business. Now, I bring in multiple six figures per year while working only 30-hour weeks serving my dream couples. I'm here to help you discover that it's so possible to have what you want when you want in your business so that you can create the life you've always dreamed of and deserve. Welcome to episode 48 of the Shine and Thrive podcast. So today, the guest I have on is Daniel, and he is someone I admire for so many different reasons. Number one, so Daniel and his wife, Davina, who won't be in this podcast episode, but together they are partners in so many things that they do in life and in business. So together they are co-founders of the Image Salon, which is based in Montreal, which is where I've outsourced my editing for years. And many of you always wonder, Sarah, where do you outsource your editing? This is where I outsource it. And I mean, they create a top-notch experience. Like the culture that they have created in this company is awe-inspiring, and the support is something I can always count on. So they are helping hundreds of photographers free up so much time. And I believe that's so invaluable, especially when it's done so well, when I feel so well taken care of as their client. By the way, if you want to try out the Image Salon, to get 25% off your first order with them, make sure to use the referral link in the show notes for this episode. So you can find that at saramonika.com/48. So you have to sign up with that link. So you have to go to that link. So saramonika.com/48. Find it in the show notes, the Image Salon, click on that. And then when you sign up, you'll get 25% off your first order. Also, if you're an existing client, I have a little bonus gift for you because I have a little coupon code that will get you 40% off your next order. So that's Sara Monika 40, and that's all caps for 40% off your next order. So yeah, make sure to grab that if you're already an existing client. And if you want to try it out for the first time, head over to the show notes for that referral link. So to add to their repertoire, I've always wanted to say that word and I feel like it fits in here so well. Daniel and his wife, Davina, were traveling wedding photographers for like 12 years together until they decided to retire in 2018. Their work has a strong focus on storytelling. It's incredible. You can go check it out on Instagram. Their Instagram is at Davina plus Daniel, and it's Davina, Davina, and then plus, the word plus, Plus, and Daniel. It's beautiful. You can check it out there. So yeah, they've retired, but they were so talented when they were wedding photographers, and they still are so talented with them just documenting their lives with their kids and all of that. I love seeing their work. So now they're focusing on other projects that light their souls on fire while spontaneously traveling the world with their two kids when they feel like it. I find that so inspiring and beautiful. And I love how they're always just following their curiosity, wherever it leads them, because that way they're living a life that's so aligned with them and they feel fulfilled while also helping make a positive impact on the world in the process. So to me, they are just superstars. So this podcast episode is a little different since I want to try on having kind of a more off the cuff chat just to see where it would take us. And even though Daniel and I have connected before many times, like over email and stuff, this was our first time actually chatting face to face, air quotes around face to face, because Zoom, LOL. Yes, I did just say LOL. Anyway, I love how Daniel is such an open book here, and I really hope you enjoy our chat here. Daniel, welcome. I'm so excited to finally connect. I love that we're actually connecting for the first time and podcasting at the same time. So this is going to be a fun way to like get to know each other, connect, and also like you're such an incredible human being with everything you and Davina have accomplished so far and everything you do for the world that I cannot wait to like dive in and understand and get to know you more and all that, because you guys are definitely an inspiration. And it's so funny because I know exactly how I want to start off this podcast episode. And how I want to start it off is you saying, so normally when I send off like the scheduling link for my guests to pick their schedule, I have a little questionnaire for them. And I always make sure to ask, is there anything specific that you want to talk about or touch on or anything like that? And Daniel just wrote, I trust that the conversation will go where it needs to go. And I'm like, yes, this is my jam. I love just like going with the flow, following your intuition and all of that. So welcome, Daniel. And this is how we're starting it. We're starting it with trusting where the conversation is going to go.
Thank you for the kind words. It really means a lot to me. I mean, yeah, it's all very sweet of you to say all of those things. And yeah, let's just talk about whatever we feel talking today and see where it goes. I don't like over planning things, especially nowadays. So imposing any specific topic or anything specific to talk about just didn't seem right. So especially knowing you a little bit, from what I know about you, I just felt like we can trust that we can carry a conversation and everything will be fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. Do you find that you've had like that kind of approach kind of in your life for a while? And did it also like fuse into any business that you're focusing on at the time? Or do you feel like you had to work at it to have this more like laid back approach?
On a business level, I feel like we've always had a, whatever happens is what we should pursue kind of approach. When we started shooting weddings, it just came to us like it was an opportunity, and then we took it and we went for it. And then when we started an associate studio again, it's because the demand was there. We didn't overplan it or overthink it. It was, we need to do this, so let's go ahead and do it. And same with Image Salon. It was like, oh, someone asked us if we could edit their photos. We have the people to do it. Let's do it. So now we're here. And it's kind of funny because I feel like growing up as a kid, I hated being put on the spot and being asked questions, and I never knew what to say, or I would always be like self-conscious about what came out of my mouth. And I still am a little bit. Like after we hang up, I might be like, oh shit, why did I say all this?
Oh my God, I could totally relate to that 100%.
But no, in general, I don't like over planning things. Sometimes like, for business meetings, like people, ask me to plan things and it's not my jam. Yeah.
So, okay, that's interesting because if that's not your jam, I feel like we might be similar in some sort of like personality, either Myers-Briggs or like Enneagram. Do you know any of those for you?
I know my Enneagram. I don't know. I forget the number, but it's the achiever.
The achiever. Oh my God, we are the same. We're both threes. That's so funny. That makes sense. Yeah, that's so funny. So my first one is the achiever, the 3, and then I'm just underneath it is the enthusiast, which is the 7, which is more like free flowing, adventurous, whatever happens, new experiences, right? So it's so funny because I can totally relate to you saying like someone asked me a question, even especially if it's a small talk question. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know how to answer this. I have to go in deep. I can't just answer it in 30 seconds. Or what do you mean I have to plan for things? So like, did you find that as time went on and you're growing as business owner, entrepreneur, and you wanted to really make time for everything that mattered in your life, did you find that you had to add in some planning, or do you feel like always going with the flow works for you?
It's not so much a preference as I just like believe that it's going to work out. I generally have a pretty optimistic view of would say of my world, of the things that I can control and the things that come to me and that happen in my life. And, it's worked out pretty well so far. Like, I really don't have anything to complain about. And so I just trust that, whichever way things need to go is the way that they're going to go. We're actually leaving for Costa Rica on Saturday with the family for like 2.5 months. And we planned it like maybe a month ago. So, it's not like you'll never hear us planning a trip like a year out. Like it's always fairly last minute.
Spontaneous. That's awesome. Yeah. So let me guess, law of attraction. You're like, I'm all for it. I believe in it.
Yeah, definitely. And just like listening to like your gut intuition, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And it's so cool to me whenever I feel like sometimes as a business owner, when people ask me, how do you do this or this? And how can you, achieve more bookings and raise your rates so much and all of that? I'm just like, well, I just kind of like trust that it'll all work out, fall into place. And that sounds like such a answer like, yeah, but how? And it's like, that's where I guess it's amazing to like read more like manifestation books and all of that. But is that something that like you learned over time, or you always just had it in you, like within you?
Oh my gosh, I have so many answers to everything you just said.
Yes, say them all.
So, first question back to you. I'm assuming you've read like Joe Dispenza or listened to his stuff.
Oh, why does this sound familiar? Do I have his book here? Oh my God. Evolve Your Brain. Is that one of his books?
I'm not sure about that one. But anyways,
Okay, so I have his book on my bookshelf, but I haven't dove into his stuff yet.
See, there you go. This conversation was all meant to be. So he's all about like the power of manifestation, but not just like in a woo-woo, like abstract way. He goes into like the science of it and like the amount of stories that he has of like people he has coached who have done his seminars and stuff. And he's conducted like brainwave tests and all of those things on like the meditations that he guides and all of those things. Like it's a real thing. I like, believe in it. But for me, like that's more recent, like in the last couple of months. But in general, like growing up, I feel like I always had it, but without, necessarily labeling or naming what that feeling was.
Yeah.
I also believe in like saying yes and figuring it out later. Sometimes that means taking on a little bit of debt, knowing that things will work out, or just like doing something ahead before like you're fully ready for it, knowing that it's just going to work out. And that I feel like I have a track record for the last 10 plus years.
Do you have a story or an example of a time where you put maybe a little bit more on the line, or it could have seemed like a risk and then it ended up working out, and like kind of what you did in order for it to work out how you want it
to? The first part of your question, yes. So like, this house, that we built, I feel like we weren't quite ready to like afford it, and we just went for it, and then everything else kind of sorted itself out. But the way that it sorted itself out is, it just did. Like, I don't feel like I took the necessary steps, but I feel like when we committed to it, we just had a feeling that it would, and everything would be fine. I guess we had enough options in front of us to know that we can go this way, or this way, and chances are pretty good that it's going to work out. So, without doing like a formula or a spreadsheet, of your odds, just kind of like the feeling that everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. Cool. And I probably properly introduced you. I'm going to do a separate recording to introduce you to everyone. So everybody knows now that you and Davina created the Image Salon, and that you guys were traveling wedding storytellers for 12 years. And then you decided to retire in 2018, shooting your last wedding. And now you guys are focusing on other projects, just like such as spiritually, which is pretty cool. The website is spiritual.ly. I was like, ooh, that's really smart. Smartly done. And then Davina's she wrote a children's book, and she's creating Woman Being, another beautiful project that she's focusing on. So yeah, it's incredible how you guys are just evolving and going with the flow of what speaks to your hearts and your souls in the moment and just making it happen, letting it come to fruition. So I'm so curious because I know a lot of photographers, there might be photographers listening to this right now that maybe have been doing this for 10 or 12 years and they're trying to figure out, is like, should I retire? Should I keep going? Or I know a lot of photographers on here are still kind of like just starting out in the 2-3 year realm, but I know some have been shooting for a while, and maybe especially with this pandemic, I know a lot of them are kind of realizing, wow, like maybe I do want more weekends with family and friends and all of that. So I guess maybe just wondering, what inspired you guys to retire at the 12-year mark, and how did it feel when you shot your last wedding together?
Well, what inspired us was just that Image Salon was, kind of running faster than we could keep up with it. So we were putting more and more energy into it. That was sort of like the main catalyst, for us stopping to do weddings. And then on the other hand, we're starting to feel a little bit disconnected from it. When we were shooting, like our heart was not in it as much as it was a few years before. And we're like, you know what, we're still enjoying it. We're not hating it. We're still getting inquiries. Business is still going well. Why not stop now while things are good instead of wait for things to get worse or get bad? So it just kind of felt like we had, peaked and things are starting to come down a little bit. We're like, okay, this is, like our intuition is telling us now's the time. And, I feel like the generation before us, they would have career jobs, that they would do for 30, 40, 50 years and stick to this like one thing that you studied. But now I feel like the trend, or like the right thing to do, is just to try a bunch of different things and, stick to one thing for a few years, then try something else. And, right now we're still in the photo industry, but, check in a few years, maybe we won't be, like, doesn't mean photography won't be a part of our life, but yeah, we have other things that interest us. And I think that's kind of like the beauty of being human and trying all of these things that are fun. Why not?
Yeah, I love that. How did you guys feel like when you shot your last wedding?
Yeah.
Did you guys cry, or did you just kind of like think you were going to cry but didn't, or did you just kind of, I don't know, was there some kind of like closure moment that you guys had?
No, I can't say that there was. I think when we shot the last, well, so I feel like there was a last one, and then there was like one more, like 6 months later, that was already on the books, which was like our only one of 2019. So in 2018 we said we're done, but we still had a contract to execute in 2019. So I think that having that like buffer of like 6 months, knowing that
Right.
we're done, and then just like executing it, it just kind of like softened the blow, in a way.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
that
no,
makes sense. So it's not like, yeah, it's not like it was like the last wedding and you're like, oh, done forever. It's like the last one, but then we know we have one more. So it's kind of, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then Davina shot, her cousin's wedding in Ivory Coast last year, so she still did that. Like, if
Okay,
someone,
cool. I guess it's also, that like if there's anyone that you mean, like you can always shoot another wedding if it really spoke to you, if it was someone close to you or whatever. So it's kind of like it never has to be a closed book in
exactly,
a
it's not
way.
like someone
So
was taking away my camera or taking away my way of seeing or my knowledge of photography and wedding photography. So, if we want to do it
yeah.
again, that I can. So no, there was no real sadness about it. It was generally pretty joyous, and getting our weekends back is like I,
Yeah.
I hope every wedding photographer gets to experience it at some point. Now we're used to it, but I'd say like the
Yeah.
first like 6-8 months of or the first full summer of not shooting weddings, because that last wedding in 2019 was like in May. So we got it.
Yeah.
It was done. And then we had like June, July, August, September, where we're like at home, and like, we're like, whoa, this is crazy. Like, I'm home every weekend. It's great.
Yeah, that's awesome. And how did your kids react, Max and Charlie? Were they
Um,
like, could they tell the difference, or
no, not
like
yet. Like, yeah, they're still a little too young, but yeah,
how old are they?
today they're 6 and 4. So back then they were,
Okay.
you know,
Okay, so yeah, they
4.
were a little bit, yeah, more toddlery. Oh, that's awesome. By the way, I'm obsessed with the photos that you guys capture of them. Oh my gosh, just like the most beautiful storytelling photos. And like I love looking at those just because my dad used to take photos like candidly of me as well. So I know how much those mean to me. So I see how much those are going to mean to them. And also the way that you guys capture them is just so much more even beautiful than my dad ever could because he was a professional photographer. So yeah, I just love following that and seeing how you guys capture that.
Do you feel like that's what got you into photography, was your dad's love for photography?
Yeah, that's exactly it. And it wasn't even the love for that he had for photography. It was more or less like when he would take photos of me and or just my mom and I and other people just in a documentary style way, I felt like I never had to be told, hey, smile or do this in order for you to be accepted in front of the camera. And when I would look at photos years later and look back on myself in those photos, I would A, feel loved for exactly who I was. And B, I would be like, oh my God, I remember how I felt on that day. And it was like a time machine. So I loved that experience that photos created for me. And then I would ask my friends, oh, I want to see photos of you growing up. Can I see? And they were all just like those Sears like photos with the backdrop with like everyone just sitting there all posed. I'm like, don't you have photos of you like playing when you were younger or eating breakfast? And they're like, no, my parents never really did that. I'm like, oh, the world needs more candid photos. Like they need this. And then I just went on a mission to like, basically I'm still on the mission to preserve as many like candid memories and connections as possible.
That
So
is so well said.
yeah.
I never heard anyone talk about like the effects of candid photography on like your perception of, love and acceptance. I think that's so important, and I hope that the way that we photograph our kids, which is also candid, does give them that feeling as well when they're older. And I mean, my dad was a serious hobbyist as well, and that's how I got into photography as well. So there's one more thing we have in common. But yeah, and it's the same for us.
Yeah.
We were never like posed for pictures except for like the few weird artistic concepts you wanted to execute, where my brother and I are topless and we're just kind of like, it was like a weird photo. But in general, like he would just photograph us candidly. And yeah, and I never thought of the
Yeah.
love and acceptance that it creates, but that's totally true.
And what's your experience like? Like, why do photos mean a lot to you, or why does photography mean a lot to you?
For me, this is like a fairly recent realization, and it came with like my sort of interest in mindfulness. I just realized that I'm so much more present in the moment when I'm taking pictures. Like you're not thinking about anything earlier in the day. You're not thinking about the next thing unless you're anticipating the next photo. But you're just looking through your viewfinder and you're fully tuned into the present moment, looking at what's going on and how do I make the best picture with like the present moment. And in weddings you had to be more, what's the word, like more analytical, because you knew you had like a certain shot list that you needed to get, even if it's not on paper, just like kind of mental shot list.
Yeah.
I need to get a wide shot, then I need to get a close-up, then
Yeah.
like, you're a little bit more analytical. But now when I in photography with with our kids, I don't have a shot list. Like I'm just trying to like enjoy the moment and like take fun photos in the process. And just by having the camera in front of me, and it just keeps me so tuned into the moment. And then obviously
Yeah.
this is a sheer satisfaction of like click, and then like you captured something good. Like it's very basic, simple, but super enjoyable.
Wow. And just like you've never heard of my description, I've never heard of someone being so satisfied by a shutter click.
Totally.
You're like, click.
Yeah.
If you guys saw him on video right now, he just looked very happy.
Yeah.
That's so funny. Actually, oh my gosh, what was I gonna say? Oh, damn it. Brain fart. I was gonna say something. Oh yeah. Oh no. Does this ever happen to you? Do brain farts happen to you?
Oh, all the time.
Oh, okay. No, I remember now. Okay, you said that photography was more like a mindfulness experience. And it was so funny because when Roy and I, my fiance, first started dating, this was like 6 years ago, 6.5 years ago. We went on our first trip to Ecuador ever together, and it was a full-on adventure trip, and I wanted my camera with me at all times. And he is someone that loves like just trekking and just moving as you're trekking, and not really like, yeah, stopping to see the sights, but like just he loves movement and getting into that meditative state. And I kept wanting to stop to take pictures of like the scenery or us or anything like that. So it was so funny because for me, that was meditative as well, because it brought me back to the present moment to really appreciate the beauty in front of me and take a photo. And on that trip, we learned like that he got frustrated with me if I stopped too many times, and I got frustrated with him if we kept walking and he didn't care to take photos too many times. So I'm like, hey, if you're going to be with a photographer, you got to know that like I love taking photos. So it was so funny because he didn't understand. He thought that if I stopped to take photos, it was being not present. But I was trying to explain to him that it was actually me being more present. So it's so fascinating how so many people perceive things so differently with, how they view the world and experiences. So I'm like, yes, Daniel, we have that in common. You get me, I get you.
I think there's a difference between like going to a site just to pop a selfie, you know, in front of the site and then getting back to your hotel versus like, you know, being on a mindful hike and then taking the time to record it as well with your camera, which, you know, is a mindful experience for you as well. It's so funny that you said Ecuador because we just got to go ahead on a gig in Ecuador.
Oh, cool.
This morning. And yeah, I don't know. It's just like, what are the odds that it would come up in conversation today? I couldn't have predicted that. So
see, you trust that the conversation will go where it needs to go.
Yeah, totally.
That's fun. Have you been to Ecuador before?
No, we have not. So we're trying to debate if we go to the Galapagos or not at the same time.
Right. Yeah, because it's right there. I haven't been because it was an extra investment, and we're like, you know what? Let's save that for later. But apparently, it's just like everyone's just like, you gotta go. Like, go. What are you waiting for?
We're already there, and we have to go to like the town out of which you fly out of to go to the Galapagos. So like, and it's not even like Quito. It's like a second town.
Yeah.
You know, so like we can't be any closer, and we're already paid to like go there. So
yeah. Do it.
This is one of those like things that we can't like plan ahead of time, but you know, in 3 weeks I might be in Galapagos because the opportunity was there and we just went for it. So
that's so awesome. Oh my gosh, I'm totally FOMOing right now because I miss travel, but it's okay. This is a chapter, and I'm grateful I always just like come back to, I'm grateful for my beautiful warm house. I'm grateful for the extra time, grateful for being able to read more, all that stuff. So yeah, but I'm so happy for you guys.
Throw a fit and be like, I want to travel. I want to go to a restaurant. Like, it's I don't know. I'm with you on everything you said, but at times you just like want to flip the table and like lose your shit.
Yeah.
Like, I'm grateful for this house. I'm grateful for that.
It's just so funny. I feel like there's just like two of me that I've been living with because you have that one side that's just like part of my soul. Like I need to travel. I need new experiences. And then I'm just like, the other side of me is like, but Sara, you can't have it right now. So just be peaceful, be mindful. And it's like, I rather be the person that's like in the moment, to bring myself back to the moment of just being present and grateful for what I have rather than wishing for something else. Cause I know that in the past, like, especially in the winter, if I didn't travel, my mental health just like spiraled down. So I'm just like, okay, what do you want to like not travel and be unhappy and have your mental health suffer, or just like be grateful. So I'm just someone that always has to flip the script every single moment. And I know it sounds like a crazy person sometimes, but yeah. I mean, I'm so excited for you guys. Are you guys going? Do you know exactly where you're going in Ecuador?
So the town that we have to shoot in is called Guayaquil, something like that.
Oh, Guayaquil. Yeah.
And so from there you fly to the Galapagos, and then we're gonna have about 2 weeks total, a little less. So we'll probably go to the mountains in Quito and explore around.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like I said, we just started planning today, so I don't know yet.
Yeah. If you guys want any recos, like Baños is super fun. It's in the mountains and all that. And Montanita, it's like a surf town. Okay. Cool little surf town. You're like, I have to write that down. So those are awesome.
Maybe Davina's overhearing the conversation and she's
That's awesome. I also wanted to chat about so obviously spirituality and mindfulness is a big part of your life. So I would love to know, like, what helps you, like, what are you passionate about in this realm? Like,
It's still fairly new to me. Like, I kind of connected with spirituality and mindfulness at the end of 2019. So it's only been like a year and a half, and I'm still like discovering things on a weekly, monthly basis. And, I think things accelerated because of COVID and just having to deal with it and cope. I just turned to yoga and meditation and started kind of building a practice from there, which has stuck since. I'm not sure yet what I'm passionate about, but
I guess the things you just mentioned are.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, sure. So my practice is, yoga on a almost daily basis, meditation as well. I'm into plant medicine. We went to do ayahuasca back in November in Costa Rica, and that was
oh my gosh,
as incredible as they say that it is. Yeah, I think so. Like you mentioned spiritually before, which we acquired the domain a few months ago, and I feel like it should be something that demystifies spirituality, because I resisted it. Davina got into it years before I did, and to me it was just like such a woo-woo concept, and I didn't fully understand what it was. Even when I got into it myself, I didn't fully understand what it was. Today I have a better sense. And it's very simple. It's just about being tuned into the present moment, and everything that comes with it. Like, it's just like, oh, this is so simple, but also so difficult to do. So I feel like there needs to be more demystification of it, and more, here are the small steps you can take just in your day-to-day without, these grand gestures and life-changing things that you need to do just to become more mindful and live more in the present moment. So that's kind of where my head is swirling now. I feel like there's a lot of podcasts and a lot of resources out there on like all of the crystals and all of the, astral stuff, like all of that stuff is out there already. But I feel like there's not that much when it comes to like just that, the little steps that we can all take on a daily basis.
Yeah.
To be more spiritual or mindful.
Yeah, I can totally relate. I totally get it. You're trying to get noticed and you don't know how. I mean, raise your hand if wondering where your next booking will come from keeps you up at night. I know how that feels like. I was there once too. But I'm about to help you get clear on how to increase your bookings and inquiries. After coaching many portrait and wedding photographers, I realized they all had one thing in common that was holding them back from booking their dream clients. They didn't know how to market themselves. Once they got clarity on how to show up and put what they learned from me into action, they began to book more of their dream clients. And now I'm excited to help you do the same. So I've created a mini course called Crystal Clear Marketing to, you guessed it, help you get crystal clear on how to attract and book your dream clients. I mean, the year I implemented this, my revenue grew from $69,000 to $137,000 in just 1 year. So if I can do it, you can do it too. So in case you're wondering, inside of the Crystal Clear Marketing mini course, I share how to optimize your website so that more of your dream clients inquire and book, how to go from being a generalist to becoming a specialist, and why it matters, how to find out who you are at your core and fuse it fearlessly into your business. Also, how to show up on IG so you attract quality followers. That's so important. How to make the money you deserve while feeling fulfilled with your work, and how to make marketing effortless and fun, because it should be. Running our business should be fun. So what I'm so excited to share with you is that I've made this very affordable. So to get all the deets and enroll in this mini course, go to saramonika.com/crystal clear. Again, head over to saramonica.com/crystal clear. I cannot wait to see you in there. Yeah, there was a time in my, well, I always felt connected to spirituality, but I had this idea that for me to be able to meditate, I would have to have a specific meditation corner. The energy had to be right, and I had to meditate for 20 minutes at a time for it to work or for it to even do benefit me. And then I was like, I realized it's been probably 10 years. I think it was from 15 where I had the kind of nudge towards spirituality. And then 25 years old, around there, I still haven't ever really meditated. I'm like, okay, obviously I'm not doing it at all. So maybe it's better to just try and start small. And I ended up starting off, like, I got Headspace and I started off with 3 minutes. Okay, here and there. And I would start like not having, I mean, it wasn't as much fun because you then notice what you're really, how your brain is actually working. You're becoming more conscious of your thoughts and how maybe stressed you are and all of that. But then I just kept sitting with that. And over time, maybe I tried 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Now I'm back to 3 minutes and 5 minutes every day, but at least now it's every day. So I'm even just like that little bit helps me so much. And I try to share that with others too, because I know how it feels like to feel like I have to do it perfectly. I don't know how to do it and for it to work or be effective. So yeah, do you have anything to share of how you started kind of slowly adding it in?
Well, even just to add to what you were saying, like even when you're in a daily practice and then you go through like 3-4 days of, not being in that practice, I think it's so easy to just like beat yourself up and be like, okay, well, fuck this. Like, that's it.
Yeah.
All of this work for shit, like I couldn't even like keep going. Like that negative self-talk can kick in pretty quickly. But now I'm realizing that even those off days, they're still teaching you something. So
Yeah.
they are still part of the practice, even if you're not doing anything. So
I love that perspective. Oh my gosh, I've never thought about it that way, because then you can see how you're still speaking to yourself, your self-talk, and how much,
yeah,
if you're
so
putting pressure on yourself or not.
exactly. There's always something to learn from it. So the way I got started, I'm trying to think of the best way to say the story. Okay, so we not so much anymore after ayahuasca. We're not daily marijuana users anymore, but for about a year we were. And I know it doesn't work for everyone, so I'm not gonna like preach marijuana use
Yeah.
to everybody. But for us, it was great. Like it just helped us, be more tuned into the moment and be more present and enjoy what's going on now instead of like trying to plan things or be anxious about things in the past. And so that was going great. And then at the end of 2019, Davina went with Max to Ivory Coast to photograph her cousin's wedding. And I stayed back with Charlie. And I was going through a bit of like anxious week or so just with Image Salon stuff. And I was in the evening at home with Charlie and I took a little gummy, I was just feeling it a little bit more relaxed. And I was just
Yeah.
I was with her in the playroom and she was imitating like her whole day at school. Like she was doing like dual acting, like the teacher and the kid. And she's just like basically showing me what her day looks like speaking like the teachers. And she was just, yeah, it was so like amazing to look. I know I was a little bit high, so
Yeah.
I'll do that, but it was just so amazing. And in that moment, I remember being like, holy shit, like when I'm anxious and stressed, my default used to be okay, I need to go back to the computer. I need to complete this, because after that, I'm going to feel better. But no, the medicine is like right in front of me, it's just spending more time with my kids, who are amazing and funny and who don't give a shit about, the problems at work or anything else. And just that moment was like a switch, went off in my head. I was like, okay, like I'm starting, like, I think I get it. Like that was like my first, little moment. And then a few weeks later, we traveled for quite a few trade shows. That was like right before COVID hit. So we went to Austin for Fearless, and I went to Nashville for imaging, and then Vegas for one conference, and then back to Vegas for WPPI. And just like during that whole time, like I could feel like some kind of shift happening. And the way I was interacting with people, I felt like I started caring a little bit less about what people thought of me, or I just became less self-conscious and I was more confident in what I had to say. and I was enjoying the present moment a lot more. And so it just kind of started building up inside of me. And then COVID started, and that's when I turned to yoga on a daily basis. It really, like, I had a bit of a hard time the first couple of weeks, but after that, in general, I managed to keep my anxiety at bay and just, go with the flow. And I kind of really enjoyed, the quiet.
Yeah.
I know I speak from a place of privilege because I didn't have a job that I was losing, or, I was fortunate to have enough money to know that we're going to survive. And, we live in the nature, and I get all of that. So I know that it's not easy for everyone. But, in my situation, like, I was able to just like appreciate it and just be grateful. Yeah. Go to that gratitude, for everything that we have. Meditation kind of came in a little bit later on in the summer, and it was hard. I used to hate meditating, and it took me a while to just find the right approach. And I'd say in the last like 2-3 months is where I've really honed in on what works for me and what doesn't. I don't like the guided meditations just because it I don't know, it fucks with my head a little bit. Like, I don't want to be told what to do. So I rather, just kind of know what needs to be done, and then I'll do it at my own pace.
Right.
And one thing that I also learned fairly recently is that it's normal for like the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, sometimes even longer, for just like your thoughts to run wild and to process all of the shit they need to process. And that's kind of why they say yoga is sort of the warm up to a meditation, is because like I'll usually do like 30 to 45 minute yoga session. And the first like 15, 20 minutes, I'm not with it. Like, I'm doing it, but my mind is just like processing whatever is left over from the day and needs to be processed. And I used to fight it and be like, oh, stop thinking. But now I think that if my mind needs to process stuff, then just go for it. Do what you need to do, get it out of the way, and then come back to like a place of calm and peace. And it generally works most of the time. So I'll do yoga, and the first half is my mind is running all over the place, and then it calms down, and then I'm able to meditate and just be a lot more present. And even when you're meditating, like, honestly, like, out of like a 30-minute practice, I'll get like 2-3 minutes of just like pure like static silence where like nothing is going on,
Yeah.
It's hard work. Like, our mind is like the chatterbox is just always going.
I know. It's a little fucker, that's for sure. But also, it's like, oh my God, I love that you shared about your marijuana use.
Marijuana.
I love changing up the way you say words just for fun.
Yeah.
But it's so funny because I that's so cool. I mean, I could never do like gummies. They just don't work with me. So I always have to take like 1 or 2 tokes and I'm good. But I totally understand. I totally know what it means, like, to just remember to re-presence yourself. And also it's like, I mean, I smoke very, very, very sporadically. So it's kind of sometimes every evening for a month, and sometimes I stop for 3 months and then I feel it to have it one night and not the other. So it's very random for me, but I also find it more like spiritual, like grounds me, helps me re-presence myself. And it helps me remember not to take shit so seriously too, because then you get little giggles and you can have a little bit more fun. And I love how you shared that. I can like picture vividly how you're just like observing Charlie play, like being both roles, like the teacher and her, and that must have been so like adorable and entertaining to watch.
Oh my God.
But yeah, thanks for sharing that. Like, yeah.
No, for sure. Now I'm forgetting what I was going to add. It came and went.
Brain fart, not the only one.
Yeah. No, what you were saying about using it spiritually, yeah, totally. I made a deal with myself that the 1, 2, 3 times a week that I consume it, like, that I'm also gonna go and meditate, because meditation is just fucking crazy. When you take marijuana at the same time.
Oh my God, I have to do that. I haven't done that yet. Why did I not think of that?
Yeah. And I mean, we can talk about ayahuasca if you want or not, but after doing that, like, my meditation, and then even more so like, taking marijuana and meditating is just like, it's almost like being on ayahuasca again sometimes. Like it's
right. Because you've had that experience before, and you're able to bring yourself back and deeper into your knowing in a way, probably. I mean, feel free to share about the ayahuasca experience. It's something that fascinates me, but it scares the shit out of me. Like,
which part?
Because I think it's more of the hallucinations and being kind of out of control for a while, because I do well with like taking a couple tokes of like weed or drinking, but I don't get drunk where I'm out of control. I like being still knowing that I'm here and I'm not just losing my mind in a way. So I've always been scared of like anything that's to do with hallucinations, because I've never experienced it before. So that's what scares me.
Those were my fears as well, was, what am I going to see? And I don't want to lose control. And I can't speak for everyone, but, from what I experienced, from what Davina experienced, from what I've heard others experience, you're not completely out of control. Like for me, the way I would describe the visuals, as intense as they were, it was more like being on a Disney ride, just like where you're just like going through and it's like coming at you, but it doesn't really touch you.
Okay. Yeah.
And it's kind of like enjoyable. And you're like, holy shit, what am I seeing? This is cool, So that's how the visuals were for me. And at no point did the visuals themselves get really scary. So that was fine. And also in terms of the control, like I was, as much as I was in this other dimension, I could also come back to myself and take a breath. And if I was uncomfortable, I could readjust myself. I could throw a blanket over myself. You're not completely incapacitated to the point where like, you can't do anything.
Yeah.
So those things give me, more confidence going back in. And it's really more about like the therapy and the lessons that you get out of it than it is about like I can recall the nightly experience, but it's more about like all of the lessons that I learned in that moment or that I keep learning since.
I'm so curious, would you be wanting to share any lessons that came up for you?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely reconnected a lot with just how love has been present in my life, growing up as a teenager and as a young adult. I feel like it's something that I failed to see a little bit. And I thought I had some kind of like childhood trauma that I needed to see and heal. But in reality, I was just shown like the love that I received from my sister, like growing up, and which I totally failed to acknowledge, and like the morning after, like I texted her and it was just like, I love you so much. Like I totally like, you were like part of my trip last night. And like, I totally failed to acknowledge like how amazing you are. Blah, blah, blah. Like I just like went on. My dad passed away a few years ago, and, he came to me in one of the ceremonies as well and took me down, memory lane and just show me all these like beautiful moments we had together. I learned how to love myself better. I learned that I don't need to try to solve all of the problems of the world, that I just need to take care of the people who are closest to me and in my inner circle. And the more people do that, the more, the world will heal itself.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is beautiful. Wow. Oh, that's incredible.
And it keeps going. Just like, I don't know, I every week since, like, I just learn something new about how to be more connected. I'm not saying that every day or every week is beautiful. Like this week, I'm still overwhelmed by, getting our house ready to rent out because we're leaving and getting all our things in order. And, I still have that anxiety and the feeling of being overwhelmed, but instead of identifying with it so much, I'm just like, okay, I see how it is and I accept it and I observe it more rather than, associate with it so much. And I also learned that.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was going to say that's one thing that I've learned a lot is like the whole like spiritual practice and mindfulness isn't to chase being happy forever and being perfect and never feeling a sad feeling or having a angry thought or anything. It's more or less about just being, like you said, the observer, becoming more self-aware so that you know how to maybe see that that thought is there, and instead of reacting to it in a way that could maybe have your life or you spin out of control, just kind of be like, okay, that's hanging out with me right now. Which way do I want to choose to be? And just kind of being so self-aware helps you create a reality that is more aligned with what you really want from a place of love rather than fear. That's kind of what just came out of me right now. But yeah, I'm trying to figure out where I was going with that. No, but I love how you said that you're more, you still will feel you can still feel anxious and angry and all those things, but it's such a difference to be aware of it rather than not conscious to it.
Yeah.
Like one thing that I've read from like, do you know Jay Shetty? Have you heard of Jay Shetty?
Yeah, I was following him for a while. I wanted to do his life coaching class, but never.
Oh, nice.
Never did it.
Yeah, I'm reading his book, Think Like a Monk, which came out recently, and he was just like sharing his experience of becoming a monk and all of that. And he thought that in order for him to be successful there, he had to be perfect and never have a thought during meditation and all of that. But then he realized he's like, even like monks, like the pro monks have those thoughts. And it's just all about how we deal with them. I'm like, okay, so I'm not like different or weird. It's part of being a human for us to have that. And it's just how we are present to that.
Yeah. And also once I realized, like, I'm not trying to be like a Zen monk, like,
yeah.
It's cool and mad respect, for the ones who are able to do that, but it's just not something that I want out of life,
Yeah.
And once I accepted that, then things the pressure came off a little bit. I was like, okay, it's okay if I scratch my nose while I'm meditating. Like, doesn't make this meditation any less valuable, like, it's all
That's
good.
so funny. Oh my gosh. Wait, so you had thoughts? Did you have thoughts of like, oh my gosh, if I'm itchy right now, no, don't touch it. Don't touch it. Just let it go. It'll go away. Were you like trying to be like the achiever and like,
well, no, not too much. I just feel like I was following what was written in the books, like maybe I just wasn't reading the right books, but that kind of comes back to what I feel spiritually could be, as a platform or channel is, just taking some of that pressure off, maybe I was just reading the wrong books, but no, I feel like it was some lighter books too. And, they were talking about, how you should sit super straight. And, if you feel like an itch in your back, you don't touch it and you bring your awareness somewhere else and all of those things. And it's cool. I get it. But
yeah,
at the same time,
I guess that's the beauty of life. We just get to like, take in all of the knowledge, all the information, and then construct what works best for us at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I feel like there's a gentler, more feminine way to do things. I personally, connect, quite a bit with, the feminine energy. And when it comes to like being alpha male and like, I can do this, like I'm strong, like, and like being loud and like all those things, like they don't speak to me personally. And so I like to take a more gentle approach that, take some of the pressure off and just make it easier for yourself. Doesn't mean that it'll be any less good.
Definitely. I mean, I need that reminder always, because I tend to be a lot in masculine energy. So I always need that reminder to, hey, relax, like remember to have fun with this, not just take things so seriously. So, I love that you said that. Oh my gosh, this has been a great conversation. I love like we ended up talking about drugs, which I love. So that is awesome. You broke the cherry of the drugs conversation on the Shine and Thrive podcast.
Yay.
Which by the way, I love that there's so much like more out there on these topics, both spirituality and like even on Netflix, they have like so many different shows just showing the benefits of using drugs as medicine or a healing experience or a ceremony experience, right? Of course, anything that's used too much or abused probably will end up not being a good thing, but there could be benefits to using it in like a ceremonial way. So yeah, it's really cool.
Definitely, if you use it to like distract yourself, and then you're not further ahead than you were without the drugs.
Yeah, it's the intention behind it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I don't even like the word drugs, because I feel like
I know.
drugs are man-made, pharmaceuticals that made
Oh
in the lab,
yeah.
that are made in the lab, that alter the way the way you are. But I don't know. This is just like plants. Like that's all it is.
Yeah, I like that actually. That's so funny because I said drugs because I grew up being like, yeah, I smoked weed a lot when I was in high school, like literally 4 times a day in one year. It's like a lot. And it was like drugs, drugs, drugs. That's all I heard. So now I think that's what comes out of my mouth. But I'm like, yeah, like plants,
Like,
medicine.
like I sent my mom my trip report, after ayahuasca. I was like, here's everything. And then she used the word drugs in her reply. I was like, no, it's not a drug. It's a plant medicine. Like, it is not a drug.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's so funny. Okay, I totally get you. It's so funny. Sometimes I get really defensive over certain words. Like if people say that person is an asshole, I'm like, no, you can't say that person is an asshole. Maybe he had an asshole moment, but like there are people that love him and he actually loves people and he's maybe a kind person in other scenarios. You can't just say that person is an asshole, you know? So I'm always like, no, don't say it that way.
Yeah. So
So yeah.
I agree with that.
And yeah, you're right. Drugs is more, yeah, man-made little situation. Oh my gosh. Okay. This is so awesome. Is there anything that you feel that's on your heart that you want to say? Anything in your throat chakra that you want to get out into the world that you feel called to say right now?
Not that I can think of.
Awesome. So it feels complete and
Good. Look at
it's
that.
crazy. Pardon?
The internet gods,
I know. Okay, so we can tell you guys that today I had internet problems at my house and I did a Facebook Live and the internet failed me 4 times. I had to do 4 separate Facebook Lives. So it turned into like a 4-part series, not intentionally. And then when Daniel and I started recording, it cut off twice. But before we even jumped on Zoom, I asked the universe, I'm like, should I ask him to reschedule because my internet has been wonky? And it said no. And then I was like, let me ask my pendulum. And I asked my pendulum, it said no. And even in the beginning of this call, I was like, Daniel, like it's not working. Should we reschedule? But I don't know. And he's like, you know what? Let's just talk for 5 minutes, see how it goes. And we ended up going through the whole thing. So this is so cool. Thank you, universe.
So before we wrap this up, is there anything that I can answer for, more instead of drugs and spirituality? Is there anything that can help contribute to the Shine and Thrive podcast? And
I honestly think like just sometimes like story sharing and like hearing where people have come from, what they've tried throughout their lives to bring them to where they are today helps so much because people feel either less alone or they think, oh, I didn't even know that was possible. Maybe I can do that. I can try that. So I think it was all super, super valuable. I'm trying to think where we can end it off at. I mean, I know that I'm going to chat about Image Salon because I definitely want people to check you guys out there. But yeah, I mean, everything you said was amazing and full of value. So yeah, usually when I have a guest on, I love to ask at the end, is there anything on your heart that you think you need to say? So is there anything that you think that would bring a little bit more value that comes to mind?
The one thing that comes to mind is that I feel hopeful about the state of the world. I know it's hard to see right now, and I think this sort of craziness is necessary for things to get better. I think most movements, start with like this lethargic kind of energy where things get a little bit crazy, but then they turn for the better. And so I feel like we're still in that lethargic, messy pukey state, of the world taking a turn for the better. But it's not every day that I feel hopeful, but for the most part I do. And I hope that maybe just by me saying it here, that it'll click with one or two people and they'll feel hopeful as well. And more people will feel hopeful, and humanity will make a change. Maybe not next week, with the with a change of government somewhere, but maybe not even next year, or not even in 10 years. But I do feel that in general, as a species, we are on the right track. And if you look at how much progress we've made in the last 50 years with respects to some elements of our life, then I do feel hopeful that in 50 years enough people are gonna wake up and see the beauty that is the human life.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So true. And I love that you said that, because again, you're listening to your intuition. I read something today, and what you just said goes perfectly with this. And I think that if you're saying this, that someone listening right now needs to hear this. So I'm going to read it. It's from a book called Journey to the Heart by Melody Beatty. So I'm just going to read it. Trust even the dark moments. While on our journey, life can sometimes get bleak. Dark passages may envelop us. Expect these moments. Often they come at the deepest period of working things out. It can be a time of despair, frustration, dead ends, anguish, and angst. Sometimes these moments are brief. Sometimes they last a long time. But usually they are necessary. Plan on these moments. They are not the end of the journey. They are the passageway through the tunnel and into the light. In just a little while, you will feel, see, and know the purpose of what you're going through. Soon it will become clear. You will move out of the darkness and into the light. Trust even the bleak times. When you reach the end of the tunnel, then you will know why this all had to be.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. So it's by Melody Beatty from Journey to the Heart. I almost started crying in the beginning of it because I'm an emotional person, but I'm like, no, you have to read it. You can't just start crying.
You totally could have started crying. Yeah.
Man.
That speaks to me as well, and there's no timeline, time is like a man-made thing, in the divine world or spiritual world, or again, whatever you want to call it there. There's no such thing as time, and but there is duality, and there is light and there's darkness, and you can't have one without the other. So if things feel dark right now, know that they will feel lighter at some point as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Daniel, so much. Oh my gosh, for sharing everything. And it was so amazing to connect with you. And where can people find you?
They can find me on Instagram at Daniel Kudish. If you want to follow spiritually, even though it's not launched yet, it's at spiritual.ly. And then Davina and I, it's Davina plus Daniel on Instagram or .com. It still has our archived wedding work, but we also are reviving it right now with more adventures with our kids. So a lot of family photos there. And then if you need any kind of post-production, go to imagesalon.com. We'll be happy to take care of you there.
Awesome. Yay. Okay. Thank you so much, and have a productive or relaxing day, whatever you need.
Sounds good. I'm about to go get the kids, so that means pretty fun.
Yay! Thank you so much for hanging out with me and tuning into this episode. If you got value out of it, please feel free to message me on Instagram at Sara Monika Photo. That's Sara no H, Monika with a K photo, to let me know. I get so freaking energized hearing from others that what I've said has had a positive impact on their lives. Also, make sure to hit subscribe to the Shine and Thrive podcast to never miss an episode. I'm so grateful for you, and I'm sending you all the productive vibes your way so you have the best week ever.